The story we've been following over the past 2 days surrounds a superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA and Indiana Fever star. She's going to miss all the action on the court. Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Demand vanishes because people aren't willing to pay to see athletes they believe are ungrateful while their sport is growing. People aren't paying up for that. We're right here, and the tickets for this All-Star game have dropped by 50%. What was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's coronation week in Indianapolis has turned into a nightmare scenario for the WNBA. The city put up a massive 34-story ad of Clark on the JW Marriott, expecting record crowds and massive revenue. Instead, they got empty seats and angry fans boycotting the All-Star game. The question everyone's asking: how did the league manage to turn their biggest star's hometown celebration into a financial disaster? And what did Cathy Engelbert finally say about the officiating crisis during All-Star weekend? The answer reveals everything wrong with how the WNBA treats the players who actually bring in fans. This is what everyone's been talking about: Caitlin Clark's 34-story banner on the JW Marriott. It's the largest banner ever placed on that building. You might remember the NCAA tournament bracket banner from 2021. This is even bigger. At 113,000 square feet, it's unbelievable. The banner says, "From downtown in my town." No doubt, this was something grabbing everyone's attention, and who better to be on it than the star herself, Caitlin Clark. Indianapolis had spent months preparing for what they believed would be the biggest WNBA weekend in history. A replica All-Star basketball court was installed at the airport, and local businesses stocked up on inventory and hired extra staff. Gainbridge Fieldhouse sold out within hours when tickets first went on sale. The get-in price hit $121, with average resale tickets going for $262, and the best seats fetching thousands, making it the highest in WNBA All-Star Game history according to TickPick. It's really unfortunate that Caitlin Clark missed it. The crowd would have been electric. The arena would have exploded. But then July 17th happened. Clark's groin injury announcement hit social media, and everything changed in real time. You could literally watch the ticket market collapse hour by hour. Those $262 average prices crashed to $64 within hours, a 75% drop in value. Sellers panicked. The resale market went into complete freefall. People who had bought tickets as investments were suddenly trying to offload them at massive losses. The get-in price dropped from $121 to around $65, and even at those rock-bottom prices, buyers weren't exactly rushing in. This wasn't some gradual decline. This was a financial catastrophe unfolding live on social media. From $121 all the way down to $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark wouldn't be playing, fans were saying, "I'm done. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark. I made accommodations solely to see her in the All-Star game. She's injured. I'm not interested anymore." People were desperately lowering their prices, $100, then $80, then $70, until it landed at $64. The WNBA was paying attention to these trends and seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth to the league. What made this even more brutal was that this pattern had happened before, just never at this scale. When Clark missed regular season games in May due to a quad strain, ticket prices for road games dropped significantly. The Washington game saw a 47% price drop, and the high-demand Chicago game prices fell 71%. But those were regular season games. This was the All-Star game in her hometown, and the crash was unprecedented. Demand fell off a cliff. And it wasn't just the on-court product that suffered without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities felt the fallout. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was about to face its first non-sellout of the entire season. A building that had been packed for nearly 2 years for every single Fever game was now facing empty seats for the biggest basketball weekend in Indianapolis since the NBA All-Star Game. The math was brutal for everyone involved. Vendors who invested thousands in All-Star Weekend merchandise were facing massive losses. Restaurants and hotels expecting record crowds were suddenly seeing cancellations. The ripple effect spread across downtown Indianapolis. But inside the arena, shops weren't going to get the foot traffic they expected. The surrounding restaurants, attractions, and businesses also saw less patronage than if Caitlin Clark had been healthy. This wasn't just about one player missing one game. Fans were sending a loud, clear message about who drives interest in the WNBA. When other stars get injured, ticket prices don't crash like this. The market was saying that without Clark, the All-Star game wasn't worth attending. The crash exposed something the league didn't want to admit. The entire season's record-breaking success was built around one player. Without her, those attendance records and revenue milestones looked a lot less impressive. This year's All-Star game was supposed to feature an actual star. Usually, the event is filled with players that the general public barely knows. Clark's groin injury wasn't just bad luck. It was the inevitable result of escalating physical play that referees consistently ignored. Opponents figured out they could grab, shove, and hammer Clark without any consequences, and refs swallowed their whistles. It started last year. Clark received 20% of all flagrant fouls in the league, most from Angel Reese of the Chicago Sky. These weren't just fouls, they were blatant assaults. They weren't basketball plays. And worse, players laughed about it. Stephanie White, the Fever's head coach, saw this coming. She pointed out the double standard all season. There's a level of physicality players are allowed to use against Clark that other players don't face. She wasn't exaggerating. She saw her star get beaten up every game while refs looked the other way. The Washington Post called out the league's lousy, second-rate officiating, saying games had turned into physical brawls. They even joked the league's logo should be a bruise, and its motto should be no call. Videos showed Clark being fouled repeatedly with no whistles, grabbed, shoved off screens, fouled on drives. Targeting Clark became a legitimate defensive strategy. This year, the abuse wasn't limited to Clark. Sophie Cunningham also became a target. She now ranks just behind Clark and Aaliyah Boston in receiving flagrant fouls. But again, the real problem is consistency. Officials won't call fouls against Clark or Cunningham, but will call ticky-tack fouls against Fever players on the other end. It's a blatant double standard. Other sports stars in history got protection from refs: Jordan, LeBron, Brady. But Clark? She was getting smashed while officials ignored it all. The data backs this up. 57 head and neck injuries over the past 2.5 seasons, with guards and small forwards taking the brunt of it. Lisa Leslie, the WNBA legend, knows the pain Clark is facing. She suffered a groin injury in 2006 and warned that it can linger for months or years. Clark now faces that same reality. You can treat it with tape, heat, and ice, but it lingers. One wrong move, one wrong cut, and the pain comes roaring back. As fans organized boycotts and tickets crashed, everyone waited to see how Commissioner Cathy Engelbert would respond.